Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of College Sucks. I'm your host, Davis Samantha Davidson, a student affairs professional who has been in college most of my life. And I wanted to say that this was season 2, but then I'm like, do I even have time to rework my posters, even though I'm not doing it, but even to help with the concept of it. And so I'm not sure. So I'm just going to say another episode. You will know what number it is when you see it pop up on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. In this day and age when there's so much going on and so much to accomplish, sometimes we can let the small things go to focus on the bigger picture. So anyway, welcome back to another academic year. Yes, the school year has started. At the time of this recording, we're in almost the end of September. I don't know what happened. It was September 1, a Monday, and then we're near the end. I don't know where all the days went. I don't know what happened. In Jamaica here, we had an election. So almost the first week of school was kind of eroded. No, that's not a good word to use. It was kind of put off, delayed. That's the word I want to use, because we had our general elections. Nothing major changed. So we're back to business as usual. And I do hope that students who are in college have looked on and seen that being a politician is a potential job. So, hey, start practicing for that. Especially in Jamaica, they get good pay. So it might be something to consider. Let's jump into today's episode. Today, we are talking about adult self-learning. And what I mean is that when you're in college, even though you have a professor, you have lectures, you have tutorials, there is another set of learning that needs to happen. Not only when you're doing your assignments, but when you're in a large lecture theater, it's very difficult for you to get all the points. You probably don't learn that way. And so a lot of self-learning has to take place. So in this episode, we will be discussing the art of adult self-learning. College Sucks episode, who knows? Stay tuned. So one of the things for sure that makes college suck is kind of the jump from high school to tertiary education. There is high school where you're kind of spoon-fed, your hands are held, you're hugged, you're cuddled. There just seems to be a lot riding on how well you do for the teacher and for the institution. Now, when you go to tertiary, that's a different ball game. There are no awards being given out to colleges that have students who, ultimately their aim is throughput, meaning you should finish the time or the term of your degree. But they're not necessarily awards for them to ensure that everybody passes. Okay, because a lot of responsibility passes to you. So nobody holds your hand, nobody reminds you of your due dates, nobody spoon feeds you PowerPoints with the answers in them. You're the teacher, the student, and sometimes you are even your own principal yelling at yourself to get it together. So this is what makes it so difficult. You have to be playing multiple roles instead of just being the person who is receiving information. There are times when you're going to have to teach yourself. There are times you're going to have to teach your classmates because you don't want to leave them behind. There are times you're going to have to rely and trust that they can teach you because your poor lecturer can't get it into your brain. And so there is a lot of self-learning that takes place. Now, the term for a self-learner is an autodidact. And I consider myself that. I like to teach myself new things. So not to be too technical, but I've taught myself how to do my own nails. Yes. And it's been a process. If I were to teach myself anything else that wasn't as technical, I think I would probably lose my mind because it was hard teaching myself how to do that. So, you know how naturally some people, like nobody's taught them, they've probably observed and they're able to do it. That wasn't it for me. Like, I really had to watch a lot of videos and I had to make mistakes and do it over and over again. Now, doing nails is one thing and it's fun, and there's not really a big, how do I put it? There are no major consequences whether I learned it properly or I did not. I mean, your nails look awful and then you can just go to somewhere else and do it. When you're in college, the stakes are a little bit higher. And so, one of the things that you want to do is to concentrate more on being a better self learner. And that's why I decided to delve into this topic for this week, because once the school year starts and you get into the mix of it, what you really want to learn is how to learn quicker, how to learn more effectively, how to learn in a way that gives you the results that you desire. So let's jump into it. So first and foremost, I want to point out that there are challenges to self-learning. So college is set up basically with the assumption that you can teach yourself. And sometimes it feels like the professors design courses just to force you into it. So they're either not giving you enough direction, they keep talking about how hard it is, they keep telling you that you need to read for your degree, and that these classes are just a snapshot of what you genuinely need to learn in terms of content to be able to manage the course. So that's the major thing. Like I said before, unlike high school where the teacher will chase you down, in college you get the syllabus, a stack of required readings, and a good look. So self-learning means that you're in charge of your time management, your comprehension, your application, the whole works of it. And some of the time, some people have experience in this. So you have students who used to write their own notes, rewrite them, do study cards, cue cards. I mean, when I was doing my A levels, a bunch of my classmates were really, really good at developing their own study guides. I did not develop that skill until university. Like, I passed A levels of just studying my notes and practicing essays. So I never got into making cue cards and the whole, some people are just have it together. They're organized. Like, if you take their notebooks, you could just use that as a study guide. I did not develop that skill until probably second going into third year of college. So if you're already in these years and you feel as if you haven't gotten it together, in terms of that, there is still hope for you. You can at any time turn on any parts of your learning that you want to. You just genuinely have to believe and have a desire. Self-learning is all about the decisions you make and the plan of action that you put in place and how you execute that. So you can teach yourself anything, but you just have to be dedicated to it. So why does self-learning, or the way in which you learn in college, why does it suck so much? Well, for sure, Netflix is easier, TikTok is more fun, Instagram is more engaging. The fact of the matter is that motivation is not real and it runs out. So you might start off strong the first week of school. Yes, I'm going to get this. I want to end this course. I got this. How hard could it be? I know somebody in second year and they did it. So it should just be a rollover for me. And by week 2, that level of enthusiasm, that hunger, that drive, it starts to fade when the reality of the fact of the matter that college is hard work starts to step in. So it feels a bit isolating as well, especially if you are in a program where other people are grasping things quicker than you, or they have their groups already, or you just prefer to learn on your own. When you are learning how to be a good self-learner, it's a task that requires some alone time, right? So you're going to have to spend a lot of time in your books developing a strategy to get this thing in order, to figure out how you learn, what methods you can use, and how you can strengthen what you're getting from your lectures. Okay? The good thing about it, though, is that self learning builds your independence because what is happening is that you're proving that you can figure things out without someone else spoon feeding you. And there is no more liberating feeling than knowing that you are responsible for your own, not your own brain, the development of your own brain. Right. So, like I always say, I cook very well, so I'm responsible for feeding myself. I do not need to rely on somebody else to feed me because I learned how to cook and cook in a way that tastes good and is nutritious and everything to me. So if you apply the same principle to your learning, right? Like I am responsible for developing my brain. Yes, my lecturer was a good facilitator, but I taught myself the majority of this course in a way that I could understand and I could get an A on it. That definitely just builds up your independence and also it builds your confidence. The first time you solve a problem or grasp a concept by yourself, you feel unstoppable, okay? And the next thing it builds is something that you need in life: resilience, because life after college is similar to life in college. If you are able to learn and conquer something that is challenging to you in college, life is just another course, an episode, another course, another syllabus to conquer. Any challenge that comes your way, you can always think about the time when you managed to teach yourself something that no one else could get across to you, that you had to break down to the level that you could understand it and master it. When that happens, you will feel on top of the world. So I've told you about self-learning. I've told you why it sucks. I've told you why it's hard. And now I'm going to tell you how to make it work. So the first thing, I love to give tips. So the first tip is to make a system. And in Atomic Habits, we are told that we do not fail to the level of our plans, we fail to the level of our systems. So you need to make sure that you have a system in place that works. So you can't be saying things like, oh, I'll just study later, because later does not have a time. Later never comes. You need to set specific times, places, and goals. I'll do one chapter between 7 to 9 p.m. at the library. You notice how specific, time-centric, and place-centric that is. That's the way in which you need to make a plan. The next thing is to chunk it down. So big tasks are overwhelming, okay? So what you need to do is break your assignments, readings, or projects into small, manageable chunks and then reward yourself when you're finished. When you're looking at the big picture of anything, it seems enormous, right? As an adult self-learner, I will tell you, I'm always taking a course, trying to learn something new. And every time I start a new course or a new project, I have the same feeling I had when I started Montego Bay Community College, when I started the University of the West Indies, when I started Clark University, when I started IUC. That kind of, oh, can I really manage this? When you get the course outline and you see how much you have to do. And especially when I did self-learning with a job, like work and school together, oh, that's a recipe for overwhelm. Those are the two things you put in the pot, and the meal is overwhelm. And so the things feel so massive, they feel so insurmountable. But once you start attacking them piece by piece, and this has been my experience, that smaller, manageable, right? That you find a way to get through it. When you're looking at the big thing, the big picture, it's so hard sometimes that you are fixated. You cannot move. It immobilizes you. But when you break it down and say, all right, let's just start with this. Maybe I'll rewrite the question today. Maybe I'll look for the sources today. Maybe you know what I mean? Like, just break it down into smaller parts. Once you do that, you will see that, okay, it's not so much of a mountain, it's a little bit of a hill, and maybe I can climb this. And don't forget to give yourself a little treat when you're done. Incentivized learning is a big deal. So it put off watching a particular episode, like not the whole series, and say, okay, when I complete this task, write it in your plan. Write it, get a sheet of paper or a specific book for planning, and you put, when I complete this task, then I'm able to watch this show. And then slowly but surely, your brain starts, your pleasure center is being touched. It's a dopamine hit right there. Every time I do something that's hard, and for me, for future me, I get a reward. The next thing that you need to do is to find resources that speak your language. We do not all learn the same. Okay, I've been in classes with my friends. I think that we are equal in terms of our ability to learn and the way we think, but yet still my study plan and their study plan completely different. I have friends who don't pay attention during the lecture, and then they go and they read the material on their own, they make their own notes, and they're good. I need to hear it in the lecture. I probably need to jot down something, and I'm still gonna have to go and make my own notes. I need the whole. Not everybody needs that. We're all different. Some people can learn from watching YouTube videos. I use YouTube videos to fall asleep. That is not necessarily a good recipe for me in terms of when I'm trying to learn anything long term. So a short video, sure, but if it's going to be a whole lecture, I am going to fall asleep. I'm programmed like that mentally, and I know this, and it's okay. Okay, there's no judgment. If every time you're watching a YouTube video, you're falling asleep, there's still stuff going in your brain, but it may not be your first go-to in terms of what you're going to use as a resource. But just so you know, you are attending college, university at the age of information. Your biggest problem now is deciphering which one you want to use. Like that in and of itself could be a challenge when I was going to university, and I don't want to age myself, but let's just say the encyclopedia was a major source of finding out anything. You get what I'm saying? That's how young I am. So you have a wealth of information. You have a different means of acquiring this information, and it's for you to decide what works for you, and it's not going to be the same for everything. So maybe for one course videos work, for another you have to read, for another it has to be a podcast, for another it has to be a classmate teaching you, for another you have to be doing past papers from the class drop to when it end. You just have to find what works for each course in every way, like in every way it presents itself, what works for you. Another excellent way for adult self-learners to really grasp the concept is to teach it back. So a way to know if you really understand something is to try teaching it to a classmate, to a friend. I mean, hello, I've taken courses. My friends are not even in school at the time. And when I want their help, when they're trying to support me, they'll be like, okay, which topic you have in your exam, or which topic are you writing on? Explain it to me. And I've found that just them asking leading questions and me having to answer it. One, I often found that I knew more than I thought I did. So that was really helpful. But also any gaps, if I could not explain it to somebody who's not taking the course, that means that I don't fully understand it. So then I would have to go back now to make sure. So teaching it back is one of the most effective ways to test, to check how thorough your knowledge is of something and if you truly understand it. And let's say you don't have a friend. Let's say you're highly introverted, you're so shy, it's you against the world. Then all you have to do is to try to explain it out aloud to yourself. If you can teach it, that means you've mastered it. So teach it back is another excellent way to improve your adult self-learning. The next tip is to build accountability. Now, for some people, and I'm going to say me, the way in which I take accountability is anything I pay for, I must get good value out of it. So when I wanted to work on my fitness, I paid a trainer, because once you're getting my money, I don't care how much I hate it, I am going to come. And that's the same way I felt about every time I went to school. I'm going to be completely honest. I've been in programs where I felt like, okay, do I really need this? And then I thought, oh, yes, you do, because you spent your money. Once I spend my money, that is my accountability meter. That's my metric. Anytime I feel like giving up, I'm like, oh, wait, I spent my money. And you may be far removed from your tuition, meaning you took a student loan or your parents are paying it, right? So that's not good enough to make you accountable. So you have to find other things. So you can join a study group. You can check in with a friend. You can set reminders on your phone. You can get your parents to help you, your siblings to ask you. I've seen students say, I told my father I was doing my essay, and I could hear them on the phone. So cute sometimes. With the father saying, you finished the essay that you said you were going to do. I mean, at Val Service, I've met so many parents who are actually accountability partners for their children. They're saying that, it's the first one to go to university and we know they get overwhelmed and we want it to be a support. So it could be a parent, it could be your spouse, it could be your friend, it could be a stranger on Instagram who is pursuing the same course as you, but in a different institution. Whoever you need to be your support system. You need that kind of structure, something to make you accountable, right? So we all decide on what makes us not give up once you've identified what that is. And maybe you need more than one. Like I said, like you can probably put in your brain that I pay my school fee, so I have to do the work. But when you're under stress, you're willing to throw away the school fee. You're going to need that other person, that classmate, that friend, that partner to say, come on now, you have to dig deeper. You need that. So if you don't have that system in place, please go work on it. All right. I quickly want to get into some of the science of self-learning because there is some science to it. And I do recommend this book. I can't remember the name. I'll put it in the notes. But it's The Science of Self-Learning. I think I've been listening to it because I am planning to enroll in a course. And so I definitely have to remind myself of how to learn at this advanced age that I'm at. But cognitive science actually gives strategies that works for adult learners. So it says active recall. So don't just reread your notes, quiz yourself. Force your brain to pull information out. It strengthens memory way more than passive review. So active recall. The next thing is spaced repetition. So instead of cramming all night, spread out your learning. Review material after 1 day, then 3 days, then a week. That has been proven scientifically to lock knowledge into your long-term memory. So it moves it from short to long. So reviewing spaced repetition in terms of when you review your material. Interleaving. So that means mix up what you're studying. So don't just study or do 50 math problems in a row. Alternate math with history, then writing. It feels harder, but builds deeper mastery. So when you're not hyper-focused on one thing, your brain has to kind of adjust for you to flip between subjects. And so it's saying that interleaving is something that you could probably try. From the sound of my tone, you know that that's probably not my preference, but it may work for individuals who have extremely short attention spans anyway. So that's something that you could try. Desirable difficulty. And this theory says that if learning feels too easy, you're not really learning. So struggle is a part of growth. So when you get to a point where it's so easy for you to solve the math problems or figure out the answer to the questions, that means you're not learning enough and you should really push yourself. So when you're teaching yourself, don't just read, engage your brain, make it work for the information. That's how things get embedded into your memory. But just note that if you are even a first year in college, a second year in college, it is still kind of an adjustment to understand that you have to spend a lot of your time teaching yourself. All right. And this is when a mindset shift becomes extremely important. You need to understand that motivation is a myth. Motivation can stop at any time. It is the shortest of all the shuns. Okay, it comes and it goes. 1 minute you're motivated, the next minute, as we say in Jamaica, we can't bother. Right? So motivation is not sustainable. What works is consistency and discipline. Even when the thing feels hard and as if you're not getting it, if you remain consistently trying and disciplined in your approach, you are going to be okay. All right. The next thing is to not beat yourself up for struggling. I was very hard on myself as a student. I continue to be throughout life when I'm learning something and it's taking me a while to get it, right? I don't know. It's probably how I was hardwired from as early as kindergarten. I'm not sure. I don't know why, but it's just how it is. And so many high achievers are like that. So many people are so tough on themselves when they're not getting something right away. And we need to move past that. In an episode, I spoke about mindset from Carol Dweck's book. And I really encourage every student to read it because it makes you feel so much better about struggling, because you are supposed to struggle, especially when you're learning something new. Everybody struggles unless they are a savant, and those are so rare. And even when they're a savant, they're struggling with something else. Might not be their academic work, might be their social skills. So everyone struggles. The minute you start to accept that and just move your brain into learning, the better it will be. You need to see self-learning as genuinely a practice in adulthood. And like I was saying to somebody, adulthood is the worst hood ever. It is the ghetto. But the fact of the matter is, so many of us live here. We have to. And it's just real life. The skills that you learn in college are helping you to build capacity for the struggles that life is going to definitely throw your way. Okay, you're going to struggle in your career, you're going to struggle in your relationship, you're going to struggle in your own personal growth. And learning how to learn in college helps you with that. All right. Wow, 27 minutes. I have just been talking and talking and talking. So I just want to close out by saying, I know that adult self-learning sucks. It's tough, it's lonely, and it's not something you're going to grasp overnight. But it's also the secret weapon to getting the grades that you desire in college. It's how you stop surviving and start owning the college journey, right? So just remember, you don't need to do it all today. You just need a plan, some consistency, and a little grace for yourself when it gets hard. College sucks, but it doesn't have to, especially if you listen to my podcast. So please, if this episode helped you, please like, share, subscribe. Please help me get out there. Leave a comment, give me a thumbs up, give me a review, whatever you can to help keep this channel going. Is it a channel? To keep this podcast going. There we go. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.